Everything in life is energy. Every word, every silence, every thought you carry within you. The truth is, people may not always understand what you say, but they will always feel the energy behind it. Energy shapes connection. It determines whether someone feels peace or tension when they are around you. You can tell a person you love them, but if your energy is full of anger, insecurity, or resentment, your words will lose their meaning. In the same way, you don't need to say much to be understood when your energy is calm, centered, and kind. People feel the difference between a heart that wants to control and a heart that wants to connect. Most relationships fail not because of lack of communication, but because of unspoken energy that slowly changes the atmosphere. You can text someone every day, say the right things, and still push them away if your energy carries bitterness or anxiety. Energy speaks in silence, through body language, tone, and emotional presence. When someone feels drained after spending time with you, it's not because they dislike you. It's because your energy is demanding rather than sharing. True connection isn't about what you say, it's about how your presence makes others feel. When you learn to manage your inner world, your outer relationships transform naturally. Energy alignment begins with awareness, becoming conscious of what emotions you project without realizing it. If your energy is rooted in fear, you'll always chase reassurance. If it's rooted in anger, you'll always look for something to fight. But when it's rooted in peace, you'll attract people who feel safe in your presence. Calm energy is magnetic because it offers what most people are searching for: stability, acceptance, and authenticity. Your energy becomes your silent introduction to every person you meet. When you carry unresolved pain, it becomes visible even if you try to hide it behind smiles or words. Healing doesn't mean pretending to be positive all the time. It means taking responsibility for what you carry and how it affects others. When you forgive, let go, and learn to breathe through chaos, you begin to radiate balance. That energy invites people to stay. Connection thrives where there is emotional safety. And emotional safety is built through energy, through the invisible exchange of peace, empathy, and respect. So if you wonder why certain people distance themselves, look beyond their actions and into your vibration. The energy you bring to every interaction tells a story far louder than your voice. When you learn to master your energy, you no longer need to chase connection, you naturally attract it. Because love, friendship, and trust do not follow words, they follow energy. Negativity is one of the most powerful forces that can quietly destroy relationships and push people away without you even realizing it. It seeps into conversations, reactions, and attitudes, creating a heavy emotional atmosphere that others can sense immediately. People don't always leave because they stop caring. Sometimes they leave because the constant weight of negativity becomes too exhausting to carry. Every time you complain, criticize, or focus on what's wrong, you drain the emotional energy of those around you. What starts as a habit of expressing frustration can easily turn into a pattern of emotional toxicity that blocks true connection. Negativity often begins with pain that was never processed. When someone feels unseen, unappreciated, or disappointed for too long, they start projecting that hurt outward. They begin to see life through a lens of nothing ever works out, and that belief colors every interaction. Instead of sharing joy, they share judgment. Instead of offering solutions, they spread pessimism. People around them start to feel like they are walking through emotional fog, trying to find light where there is none. It's not that others don't care, it's that the energy of constant complaint slowly drains their spirit. The truth is, everyone is fighting their own unseen battles. And while compassion for your struggles is important, it doesn't mean others are meant to absorb your pain. Relationships thrive on balance, a rhythm of giving and receiving energy. When one person constantly takes through negativity, it creates emotional imbalance. Over time, people stop reaching out, not because they don't love you, but because they are protecting their peace. They are choosing silence over emotional exhaustion. The most painful part of negativity is that it becomes invisible to the person carrying it. You begin to normalize your complaints, your criticism, your sarcasm, without realizing the vibration you're sending out. You think you're being realistic, but your realism often masks unresolved bitterness. Shifting this energy doesn't mean pretending that everything is perfect. It means focusing on solutions rather than problems. Gratitude is not denial, it's redirection. When you start seeing even small blessings in your day, your energy becomes lighter. You begin to attract people who bring more light instead of darkness. Positivity is not about fake smiles or empty optimism. It's about choosing to see life through the lens of growth. Every situation carries a lesson. Every challenge hides an opportunity to evolve. When you train your mind to look for what's working instead of what's missing, your energy changes, and people feel that shift. They feel safer, calmer, and more open around you. You stop pushing people away and start inviting them in naturally. Because in the end, people don't stay for perfection. They stay where they feel uplifted, inspired, and emotionally safe. Negativity repels, but awareness and gratitude heal the space it once occupied. When your heart becomes a source of light, connection flows effortlessly toward you. Emotional inconsistency is one of the most confusing and painful experiences a person can go through in any relationship. It's when someone's mood, affection, or energy changes without reason, warm one day, distant the next. This instability doesn't just create confusion, it quietly erodes trust. People may not always need constant attention, but they do need emotional safety. When they can't predict how you'll act or respond, they begin to walk on eggshells, afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. Over time, this emotional unpredictability creates distance because inconsistency breeds anxiety and anxiety destroys peace. Trust is built on repetition, on the small, consistent moments that show reliability and care. You don't build deep relationships through grand gestures, you build them through emotional steadiness. When your energy constantly shifts between affection and withdrawal, people start questioning your sincerity. They begin to wonder if your kindness is genuine or temporary. This emotional confusion makes them cautious. Eventually, they stop opening up, not because they don't care, but because they no longer feel safe doing so. Emotional inconsistency often comes from inner conflict, from unresolved emotions, suppressed pain, or fear of vulnerability. When someone hasn't learned to regulate their own feelings, their relationships become mirrors of that chaos. One moment they crave closeness, the next they push it away. This hot and cold behavior can make others feel unworthy or unwanted, even if that was never the intention. But no amount of love can make up for emotional instability. True connection requires presence, not perfection, showing up with awareness even when emotions fluctuate. Stability doesn't mean never feeling upset or distant. It means communicating through those emotions rather than letting them control your actions. The more honest you are about what you feel, the more secure others will feel around you. It's not the intensity of emotion that drives people away. It's the inconsistency of it. When you can express your feelings with clarity and calm, people learn that your energy is dependable even during conflict. That reliability builds trust. Consistency in emotion is a sign of maturity. It shows that you've learned to master your internal world instead of letting your moods dictate your behavior. When your emotions are stable, you become someone others can lean on. You no longer create emotional roller coasters that exhaust the people around you. Instead, you create a space of peace where love can breathe and communication can flow. The truth is, emotional consistency is love in practice. It's not about always being happy, it's about being emotionally honest and steady enough for others to feel safe with you. People stay where they feel emotionally grounded. They leave where confusion becomes the norm. When your energy becomes steady, your relationships transform. Because nothing builds trust more deeply than emotional stability. The victim mindset is one of the biggest obstacles to personal growth and emotional freedom. It's a mental pattern that convinces you that life is happening to you instead of through you. People who live in this mindset constantly feel powerless, wronged, and unlucky. They replay painful events in their minds and build their identity around suffering. But the truth is, as long as you see yourself as a victim, you'll remain trapped in the same cycle that hurt you. Growth begins the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" The victim mindset often develops from real pain, betrayal, neglect, or disappointment. It begins as a form of self-protection, a way to make sense of the hurt. But over time it becomes a cage. When you cling to the story of being wronged, you unconsciously give away your power. You start to believe that your happiness depends on others changing, apologizing, or returning. The more you wait for external justice, the less energy you have to heal internally. Every time you repeat your story of pain, you strengthen it. You begin to live in emotional survival instead of conscious creation. This mindset also pushes people away. Constantly focusing on how life or others have hurt you can drain even the most compassionate person. Relationships built on sympathy rarely last because empathy eventually turns into exhaustion. People want to connect with your strength, not only your suffering. When you define yourself by your wounds, you limit your ability to experience new forms of joy, love, and purpose. Growth requires vulnerability, not victimhood. Vulnerability says, "I was hurt, but I am healing." Victimhood says, "I was hurt, and it will always define me." The breaking free from the victim mindset means reclaiming responsibility, not for what happened to you, but for how you choose to respond. Responsibility is not blame, it's empowerment. It's the understanding that while you can't control every event, you can control your meaning, your attitude, and your next step. The moment you take responsibility, your energy shifts. You stop waiting to be rescued and start leading yourself toward healing. That's where real strength begins. When you realize that peace isn't something given, it's something created. Life will always contain pain, but suffering is optional. The victim mindset keeps you locked in the past, replaying scenes that no longer serve your growth. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means releasing its power over your present. When you forgive, you take back ownership of your energy. You begin to see challenges as teachers, not punishments. And slowly, you transform from someone who asks, "Why me?" to someone who says, "Try me." That shift is where growth truly begins. In the moment you choose power over pity, healing over blame, and growth over victimhood. Neediness is one of the most misunderstood energies in human connection. On the surface, it looks like care, affection, or love. But at its core, it's rooted in fear. Neediness says, "I can't feel okay unless you give me attention, validation, or reassurance." It's a constant craving for external confirmation that you are enough. The problem is, the more you seek that from others, the more they begin to pull away. True connection cannot survive under emotional pressure. Love breathes only where freedom exists, and neediness suffocates that freedom. When someone feels your energy constantly demanding instead of sharing, it begins to feel heavy. Relationships thrive when both people bring emotional fullness, when they give from overflow, not emptiness. But when one person tries to take more than they give, an imbalance forms. Over time, the other person starts to feel drained, even guilty, for not being able to meet every emotional need. That's when distance grows. Not because there's no love, but because there's no space. People are not meant to complete you, they are meant to complement you. Neediness is born from inner emptiness, from wounds of abandonment, rejection, or low self-worth. When you haven't learned to comfort yourself, you subconsciously expect others to do it for you. You look for someone to fill the emotional gaps that only you can heal. But here's the truth: what you chase out of fear will always run from you. Love cannot stay where it feels like a duty. The more desperate your energy becomes, the less others can feel genuine connection. They sense your dependence and instinctively, they retreat to protect their freedom. Wholeness, on the other hand, is magnetic. It comes from knowing who you are, understanding your worth, and being comfortable in your own company. A whole person doesn't chase love, they radiate it. Their presence feels calm, not demanding. They don't seek constant validation because their peace doesn't depend on anyone else's attention. They love without attachment, give without expectation, and walk away without resentment. That energy attracts effortlessly because it feels safe, balanced, and authentic. When you become emotionally whole, relationships transform. You stop clinging and start connecting. You no longer fear being alone because you realize solitude isn't emptiness. It's the space where you recharge your soul. You stop asking, "What can I get from this person?" and start asking, "What can I share with them?" That's when love becomes mutual, not one-sided. Neediness repels not because people are heartless, but because the vibration of lack cannot sustain healthy love. Wholeness attracts because it carries peace, strength, and confidence. The qualities everyone longs to feel around another soul. When you learn to fill your own cup, you'll notice love flowing to you naturally. Not forced, not chased, just aligned. The secret isn't finding someone to complete you. It's becoming complete so that love feels like a choice, not a need. Self-awareness is the silent foundation that holds every lasting relationship together. It is the ability to look within, to see your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors clearly without denial or blame. Most people want deep connection but avoid deep reflection. They crave loyalty, honesty, and understanding from others, yet rarely offer it to themselves. Without self-awareness, relationships become unconscious patterns, repeating cycles of misunderstanding, projection, and emotional pain. When you don't understand yourself, you can't truly understand others. You end up reacting to life instead of responding with clarity. Self-awareness begins with observation. It's the willingness to pause and ask, "Why do I feel this way? What is this emotion trying to show me?" When you start observing instead of judging your feelings, you create space for growth. That space allows you to choose your response instead of being controlled by your triggers. Every conflict in a relationship has two layers: what is said and what is felt. Without awareness, people argue about words while missing the real issue underneath: fear, insecurity, or the need to be seen. Awareness helps you see through the surface and connect to the truth beneath. Many relationships crumble because one or both people lack this understanding. When you act from unconscious emotions, you project your pain onto others. You might accuse someone of being distant when, in truth, you fear abandonment. You might demand more love when what you really need is self-acceptance. Without awareness, you expect others to heal what you haven't faced within yourself. But when you become conscious of your wounds, you stop bleeding on those who didn't cut you. Self-awareness also builds emotional responsibility. It teaches you that your peace, reactions, and happiness are your own to manage. You stop blaming others for how you feel and start taking ownership of your inner world. This shift changes the energy of every relationship. Instead of being driven by ego, you begin to communicate from understanding. You can listen without defensiveness, love without control, and forgive without resentment. People feel safe around those who are emotionally aware, because awareness radiates calmness, empathy, and respect. Awareness deepens love because it removes illusion. You stop loving an idea of someone and start seeing who they really are, with compassion, not expectation. You also learn to see yourself with honesty, acknowledging both your light and your shadow. That honesty strengthens trust. Two self-aware individuals can argue without destroying connection, because their goal isn't to win, it's to understand. Lasting bonds are built by people who are awake within themselves. Awareness brings emotional intelligence, patience, and depth, the roots that hold love steady through time. Without it, relationships drift into confusion. With it, they evolve into conscious partnerships where both souls grow together. The more you understand yourself, the easier it becomes to understand others, and that understanding is the true foundation of lasting love.